All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving headfirst into some seriously wild theories about CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, and, yeah, you guessed it, interdimensional portals.
Definitely a topic that sparks the imagination.
You can say that again.
CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, really pushes the limits of what we know about science.
Okay, so before we go full Stranger Things, can we, back up for a sec? For those of us who don't have PhDs in particle physics, what exactly is CERN, and what are they trying to do with this gigantic machine they've built?
Absolutely. So think of CERN like a massive science lab, but for like the most hardcore physics you can imagine their goal. It's pretty simple. They want to understand the universe, like what it's made of, how it all began, the big questions.
Right, and they're using this thing called the Large Hadron Collider, the LHC, to do that.
That's the one. It's huge, 17 miles long, this underground tunnel where they smash protons together at almost the speed of light.
Okay, hold up, smashing protons. At the speed of light. Sounds a little dangerous, don't you think? I mean, what's the point of all that smashing?
So it's all about energy. When those protons collide, it creates a crazy amount of heat, like 600 million times hotter than the sun. And that lets scientists study these tiny, tiny particles that existed just fractions of a second after the Big Bang.
So it's like a time machine, basically. They're trying to recreate the Big Bang.
Kinda, yeah. It's a way to peek into the very, very beginning of the universe.
That's both awesome and kind of terrifying.
Mhm.
But this isn't just about the Big Bang, right? There's something specific that happened on July 7th, 2022 that has everyone talked about CERN opening portals and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, July 7th, 2022. That's the date that gets a lot of attention.
So what happened?
Well, some really strange things were reported all over the world, and they seem to line up with a particular experiment. CERN was doing that day things like weird fluctuations in the global electrical grid, unusual solar activity, and there were even reports that the Earth's magnetic field weakened for a bit.
Wait, the Earth's magnetic field? Like our planet's shield against space radiation. That weakened.
Yeah, it's supposed to protect us from, harmful stuff from the sun and deep space. It fluctuates naturally. But what happened on July 7th, it was really intense and it lasted longer than usual. And the fact that it happened while CERN was doing this experiment, well, it definitely made people wonder.
Okay, yeah, I can see why that would freak people out. So let's talk theories. What are some of the explanations people have come up with for all this weirdness? Did CERN actually open a portal to another dimension?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? One idea is alternate universes.
Okay, the alternate universes, like parallel worlds. Is that even a real thing?
Some physicists think, so they say it's possible that there are tons of other universes existing alongside our own. Maybe the LHC created some kind of temporary bridge between them.
Whoa, like we're living in a comic book or something, but is there any proof of that, or is it just like a cool idea?
It's mostly theoretical at this point. We haven't directly observed other universes yet.
But wait, there's more, right. During that July 7th experiment, CERN actually announced they had discovered 3 new subatomic particles, ones never seen before. Could that be evidence of something, leaking through from another universe?
Possibly. It's definitely got scientists talking, but we have to be careful about jumping to conclusions. It takes time to really confirm these kinds of discoveries and figure out what they mean.
Okay, so alternate universes are a possibility. But I've also heard even crazier theories, like CERN opened a portal to, well, somewhere a lot less pleasant.
Yeah, some people believe they opened a gateway to hell. It's a pretty dramatic idea, and a lot of it comes from biblical interpretations and symbols.
Like what kind of symbols?
Well, there's a statue of the Hindu god Shiva outside CERN's headquarters. Some people connect that to destruction and rebirth.
And there's that whole bottomless pit thing in the Book of Revelations, which some people think matches up with the LHC's giant underground structure. It's definitely spooky, but is there any real science behind any of this?
I mean, it's understandable why people would make those connections, but we got to stick to what we can prove with evidence so far. There's nothing scientific to suggest that CERN has tapped into any supernatural stuff.
Okay, so we've got alternate universes and demonic portals. What else is out there?
Well, there's this one theory that came from a pretty brilliant kid, actually, a 17-year-old physics prodigy named Max Laughlin. He thinks that CERN didn't just open a portal, it actually destroyed our universe and shifted us to an alternate timeline.
Destroyed our universe. How is that even possible?
His theory is all about this infinite loop that supposedly happened during the particle collisions. He says it caused a huge disruption in the fabric of space-time. It's a very complex idea, even for experienced physicists.
But basically he's saying we're all living in a parallel universe right now and we don't even know it. That's some serious Matrix-level stuff.
It definitely makes you think, but again, it's just a theory. It needs a lot more research and evidence to back it up.
Right? It's easy to get caught up in all these wild theories. So let's bring it back down to earth for a minute and talk about the actual science happening at the LHC. What's really going on inside this giant atom smasher?
At its core, it's all about understanding the building blocks of the universe by smashing those protons together at crazy speeds. Scientists can study what comes out of the collision and learn about the fundamental particles and forces that make up everything around us.
So it's not about creating black holes or portals. It's about understanding the very essence of reality.
Exactly. And while there have been some concerns about the LHC creating tiny black holes, scientists at CERN say that any black holes would be super small and disappear almost instantly, so no danger to us or the universe.
Well, that's good to know. But even if CERN's intentions are good, their past isn't exactly squeaky clean, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't something strange happen a few years ago that caused a whole bunch of conspiracy theories?
You're talking about 2016. A video appeared online that seemed to show a group of people in robes doing some kind of ritual on CERN's grounds. It went viral, and people started connecting it to all kinds of dark ideas about what CERN was really up to.
Like they were summoning demons or sacrificing people to appease the physics gods or something?
Yeah, something like that. CERN, of course, denied any involvement. They said it was a hoax, some pranksters messing around.
But even if it was a hoax, it didn't really help. CERN's image did it, especially for people who were already suspicious.
It definitely threw more fuel on the conspiracy fire, and it shows how important it is for science to be transparent and to communicate clearly with the public, especially when you're dealing with topics that are sensitive or could be unsettling.
So maybe CERN isn't intentionally opening portals, but they're definitely opening up a Pandora's box of questions about reality, human knowledge, and how far we should push the limits of science.
That's a good way to put it. It's a conversation we need to keep having.
We'll be back in a bit to continue our deep dive into the world of CERN, the science, the theories, and the ethical dilemmas. Stay tuned.
It's amazing how these theories, even the really out there ones, kind of tell us something about ourselves. Like as humans, we're so curious, always trying to figure out our place in the universe and what we don't know yet.
We love a good mystery, especially one that messes with, like, the fabric of reality.
Yeah.
But where does scientific curiosity end and, like, dangerous exploration begin? Are we messing with forces we don't understand?
That's a huge question, one that scientists and ethicists are always debating. CERN has strict safety rules, and they're committed to responsible research, but there's always that little bit of uncertainty when you're dealing with the unknown.
So how do they even try to, like, minimize the risks? How do you measure danger when you're literally pushing the boundaries of physics?
It's a whole process before they do any experiment. Teams of scientists do these intense risk assessments. They model what could happen, evaluate potential hazards. They think about physical risks, but also environmental and even societal impacts.
So it's not just about, like, preventing a black hole from swallowing the Earth. It's about thinking about the consequences of these huge discoveries.
Right. Imagine what would happen if we actually proved there were alternate universes or found a way to mess with space-time. It would change everything, how we see reality, our place in the cosmos, our beliefs, everything.
That's some deep stuff. Makes you realize that scientific progress isn't just about technology. It's about navigating all this new knowledge and figuring out the ethics and philosophy of it all.
And it's a journey we should all be part of. Science shouldn't be locked away in some ivory tower. It's a human thing, and we need to talk openly and honestly about where we want it to go.
So how can we be part of that conversation? Most of us aren't scientists or philosophers. What can we do?
Stay informed, stay engaged, read about the discoveries, follow the work being done at CERN and other places, ask questions. Don't be afraid to.
So instead of just freaking out about headlines about portals and doomsday, we can actually be part of the conversation about how to shape the future of science.
Exactly. We can learn about the science, talk about it with people, and make our voices heard when it comes to decisions about scientific research.
That makes sense. But let's be real, a lot of the fascination with CERN is because of those what-if questions. Alternate universes, time travel, contact with aliens. It's exciting and scary at the same time.
It definitely speaks to our sense of wonder and our desire to explore. And while it might seem like science fiction, a lot of scientific breakthroughs were once considered impossible or even crazy.
So you're saying we shouldn't just dismiss these ideas? There's a chance, even a tiny one, that some of these crazy theories could be true.
Keep an open mind. Science is always changing. What's impossible today could be normal tomorrow. The key is to balance skepticism with curiosity.
Okay, so we've talked about the science, the theories, the ethics, the human element, but what about the people behind it all? Who are the brains running these experiments at CERN?
Thousands of brilliant scientists and engineers from all over the world work at CERN, each one contributing their expertise to this massive project. But one name that comes up a lot when talking about the LHC is Brian Cox.
Oh, yeah, I know him. He's like the rock star physicist who makes science actually cool.
He's really good at explaining complex stuff in a way that everyone can understand, and he's a big advocate for scientific research, especially at CERN.
Has he ever talked about these concerns about CERN opening portals or destroying the universe?
He has. Many times he talks about the safety protocols they have and how the experiments are meant to help us understand the universe, not create disasters.
So it's basically saying, don't worry, we're not going to accidentally unleash a bunch of demons.
He might not say it exactly like that, but that's the idea. He wants people to focus on the real science behind the LHC, not the science fiction.
Makes sense. So even with all the crazy theories and potential risks, CERN is ultimately a symbol of human ingenuity and our drive to learn.
It shows that we can work together across borders and disciplines to do amazing things. And while there will always be questions and concerns about scientific progress, especially when it pushes the limits, it's important to remember that curiosity and the pursuit of knowledge are part of what makes us human.
It's that drive to explore, to understand that's gotten us this far. And who knows what we'll discover next as we keep digging deeper into the mysteries of the universe. We'll be back after a quick break to wrap up our deep dive into CERN and think about the future of scientific exploration. Okay, we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into CERN. So we've talked about a lot, the Large Hadron Collider, those weird events back in 2022, and the crazy theories that came out of that. What are your final thoughts on all of this?
It's been quite a journey. I think the biggest takeaway is that we're living in a time of huge scientific discovery, and CERN is leading the way.
It's like they're holding a giant microscope up to the universe trying to figure out all its secrets.
Yeah.
But as we've talked about, this quest for knowledge can be risky, and there are ethical questions too.
For sure. And that's where the conversation has to keep going. We need to be talking openly and honestly about what these experiments mean, the good, the bad, the ethical lines we've got to draw.
Because it's not just about what we can discover, but what we should discover, right? Where's the line between curiosity and, maybe risking our own existence?
That's the challenge we face as we learn more about science. It's about finding the balance between amazing discoveries and the unknown risks and, the ethics of messing with the universe's fundamental forces.
And it's not just up to the scientists to figure this out, is it?
Yeah.
We all have a part to play in deciding where science goes from here.
Right. We need people who are informed and engaged, asking questions, demanding transparency from the scientific community.
So what can we do to be more involved? I mean, most of us aren't scientists or philosophers.
Educate yourself. There are so many resources out there online in libraries that can teach you the basics of particle physics, what CERN is trying to do, the ethics involved.
And don't just read those crazy headlines or social media posts, right? Do your own research. Find trustworthy sources and think critically about what you're reading.
Exactly. And ask questions, talk to scientists, go to lectures, join online discussions. The more we understand about this stuff, the better we can participate in shaping the future of science.
So CERN isn't just a research lab. It's like it started a huge conversation about how much we can know what reality is and the responsibility that comes with pushing the limits of what's possible.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I think that's one of the most interesting things about all of this, whether CERN has actually opened portals or not. They've definitely opened our minds to how much is out there and how much we don't know yet.
It's humbling and exciting at the same time, makes you realize there's so much more to learn. So to wrap things up, let me ask you, if you could ask the scientists at CERN one question, what would it be?
That's a tough one. I think I'd ask them what they think is the most important question humans should be asking about the universe.
That's a great question, and I'll leave our listeners with a similar one.
Yeah.
What are you most curious about when it comes to the universe, and what role do you think we should play in exploring those mysteries?
Keep those questions in mind as you explore the world around you and the vastness of space. Who knows what amazing discoveries are waiting for us?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into CERN and the mind-blowing possibilities of scientific exploration. Until next time, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and keep your minds open to the wonders of the universe.